headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you through my very own transfer plan for the upcoming Game Week 11. So Game Week 10, as you guys will know, was the week I used my wildcard. Was it a success? Was it a disaster? Don't worry, I'll be going over a quick Game Week 10 review before we get into all the Game Week 11 goodness. So if that's what you guys are interested in, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So turning our attention to Game Week 10 first, and this will kind of be a little bit of a wildcard reveal. As you guys know, I didn't do a deadline stream on Friday, but I did post my final team over my Twitter page as well as my Discord server. So luckily, the wildcard was a little bit of a success. You guys can see there a nice green arrow to 770k, which was a green arrow of 220k places. So on a wildcard, we could have, I guess, got a bigger green arrow, but any green arrow is going to be good. And that was down to our starting 11, but also other options staying relatively quiet. Now that green arrow was thanks to 74 points, an average kind of game week rank of 2.6 million, but still good enough for a green arrow, which takes us to a total of 626 points. Now let me know how your game week went. Was game week 10 a great one? I've seen some massive scores closer to the 100 mark, and I'm pretty sure your green arrows would have been massive. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, some relatively low scoring games. Some teams had great options, but they simply didn't get FPL points. And I guess that is how it is sometimes. So in the comments down below, how many points did you guys get? What's the overall rank? And were you guys happy with your wildcard if you activated the chip? In terms of our own team for Game Week 11, one free transfer, and yes, 0.0 left in the bank. So my wildcard team, I pumped all the money into the bench and the starting 11, so we can make no upgrades if we choose to make a transfer. But let's go over who got us those 74 points, and some points actually came from our bench this week. I'll show you guys why, but Charlie Taylor came off for that 6-point appearance. No, this wasn't actually a clean sheet. He just scored in kind of the opening 15 minutes. So if Burnley did actually keep their clean sheet, this would have been a massive haul. So yes, a bit of bench jam on a wildcard. I was just happy that I put Taylor instead of Gay, as I did see some wildcarders get the Crystal Palace defender off their bench rather. Other than that though, relatively quite weak for the bench. Shakosha is the backup Brentford goalkeeper. He didn't play any minutes, and then Gay only got 1 point after conceding 2 goals in that game. The final player was going to be Archer with 1 point. The kind of big talking point for Archer was the fact that he was benched for Brewster, so might not be as nailed as we were expecting in these upcoming game weeks. Luckily, he's only a bench option, the cheapest forward at the moment that still gets minutes, so I'm actually fine with just sticking with him. Now because of Strakosha, we had to have Areola starting. Thankfully he did, but I do expect him to continue to start. But the problem isn't he's starting, it's the fact that West Ham defense is simply terrible. I thought maybe in these easier fixtures, they might improve slightly. That wasn't the case though, conceding to Everton. But as you guys would know in the ultimate guides, Everton are the best attack in the Prem. He did however manage to get 3 save points, so he finished on 3 overall points. But at his cheap price point, I guess we're negating the clean sheets quite a bit. Let me know in the comments down below, are you guys regretting Areola if you do have him? And if you don't, who's your starting goalkeeper? Now let's move on to our back line, and we're going to start off with Matty Cash, the very lucky Matty Cash. Not the fact that he picked up a yellow card, but the fact that he was subbed off before they conceded. So yes, he's still got that Aston Villa clean sheet. So Matty Cash is an example. This week, last week it was Tsimikas, of the fact that sometimes you want your defenders subbed off early, because after they're subbed off, the team concedes with all this extra time they're having. So on the wildcard, a bit lucky, but I guess we do pay a more expensive premium over someone like a Lucas Digne or a Pau Torres. Overall though, pretty easy game for Aston Villa. You would have expected that, as Luton are a pretty bad side. Now going into this actual fixture, there was some case for some cash rotation. That's something that we should have to monitor over the upcoming game weeks, as he has played a lot of minutes. Talking about a player that's played a lot of minutes, it's going to be Gabriel. He didn't play any minutes though in Game Week 10, and that's how Charlie Taylor's coming off the bench. Now it's actually quite funny because the Arsenal game and the Burnley game were being played at the same time. We got news that Gabriel was benched, Charlie Taylor might come off, then he goes and scores in the first 15 minutes, and then it was a long time waiting for Gabriel to please not come off. So another little bit of luck there on the wildcard, the fact that Gabriel didn't play any minutes, but after starting 10 games in a row, he was banked to get a clean sheet if he started. Now, there's been some big debate over on Twitter of the fact that why Gabriel was benched. Was it tactical like the previous game weeks? If you guys remember Game Week 1, 2, and 3, he wasn't playing many minutes, but I just feel like he was rested against an easier team after starting 10 games in a row. But I guess you will see in Game Week 11 against Newcastle if he is in fact dropped, as I would expect the first choice centre-backs to start that fixture. And the last defender to go over is going to be Tsimikas, who got us a nice 6 points. Overall, Nottingham Forest were basically toothless in this fixture, and the clean sheet looked locked in at about the 50-minute mark. Now if you guys are worried about Tsimikas' kind of place as the first choice, Dayvy the first choice replacement did have some attacking threat, but I was happy with the clean sheet. So it actually turns out he was a massive gift in our wildcard teams, and at his price point, he does look a steal. So in terms of the defensive department, Ariola disappointed slightly, but at least Cash, Taylor, and Tsimikas all got returns, and at their cheap price points, that's actually pretty decent. Now because of their cheaper price points, let's go over our midfield department, which has been upgraded with all that money. I'm going to start off with our captain, Mo Salah, who ended on 8 points, double to 16. Now if you guys watched this game, Mo Salah was overall quite threatening, but unfortunately the first 2 goals was the sister of the sister, and therefore no FPL points, but still looked pretty decent. Then what happens late into the fixture, a Szoboszlai through ball over the top, Matt Turner and the defender get completely confused, unless Matt Turner just captain Mo Salah at the end of the day. But fast forward about 5 seconds and Mo Salah's running through on goal. It's an open goal, he converts quite nicely, and I celebrated that one quite nicely. Now yes, might not have been the biggest scorer in our FPL teams, but I was pretty happy with the FPL return. Now if you guys were looking at the effective ownerships of all your players, you'll notice that Mo Salah's ownership is really high. I think he was about 140% effectively owned within the top 10k. So if you guys are choosing not to go with him, that's a massive risk, as his ownership is only growing by the hour. Now the next option I was happy that I hold on to on my wildcard draft, he translated from our game week team to our wildcard team, and that was going to be Heung-min Son with these 10 points. Now he managed to rack up a few bonus points as well in that win over Crystal Palace, and overall just a great option in that free scoring Spurs side. Now he was a main consideration for actually a downgrade to afford a better midfield department, but I decided to go for some more budget enablers to afford the South Korean. So yes, the fixtures don't look that great in the upcoming game weeks for Spurs, but Heung-min Son should hopefully keep on returning, as he is playing out of position. The next up is going to be Bukayo Saka with 6 points. Now you guys might see 6 points, I think this was a great return, but at the end of the day, Arsenal scored 5 goals and he only got 1 assist. Now yes, 2 goals were scored after he was subbed off. Actually a penalty came about 10 minutes after that, so it would have been nice to see Saka actually take that. Then Tomiyasu scored in basically the last minute, but the previous 3 goals, Saka was only involved in 1 of them, as you guys know, the Eddie Nketiah hat-trick. So I don't really know what to make of that. I was a little bit disappointed. As I said, 5 goals, only 1 assist. I thought he was more of a talisman in that side. But you guys let me know what you thought about the Saka performance. I guess if you guys didn't own Eddie Nketiah, Saka was the next big thing, with Odegaard benched and Martinelli not really performing. Now speaking about kind of not performing, let's go over our last 2 options. The first one, Jared Bowen, at his more expensive price tag, came in more than Diaby, came in more than Matoma. I went for the West Ham attacker because I thought he looked pretty good. Now yes, I won't judge him on kind of 1 week. West Ham still had some great fixtures coming up, but I was quite disappointed against a pretty poor Everton side. They didn't end up returning more. Now West Ham overall don't really seem to be clicking at the best of times, so when they do score, hopefully Bowen's involved, as it was a little bit of a punt to go from over those other assets. And because I went for Jared Bowen, I had to go for a super cheap option. It was between Cole Palmer, but I actually went for Adingra, and they both ended up getting the same points. Now in those 2 games respectively, Cole Palmer looked a lot better than Adingra did, and that's why I'm a little bit worried that I went for the wrong man. But I'm still going to play the fixtures. Brighton have 3 nice ones coming up. I just hope Adingra continues to start, as overall though that Brighton looked pretty bad in that fixture. So if you guys are a Brighton fan, please kind of calm my nerves. Tell me that Adingra will start in the upcoming game week, as Brighton do have a rest this midweek. But these 2 options, super unhappy with them, especially with the fact that Diaby scored so many points, and the player chance out for them in Bumo ended up actually hauling. So let's just assess over the upcoming game weeks. Maybe Bowen and Adingra get a massive haul next week. My fingers are really crossed. Now let's go over our last department, the forwards. The first player, Erling Haaland, a great return, 16 points, 2 goals and an assist in the Manchester derby. Now I was quite unhappy that I didn't end up captaining Haaland, but with the bad form he's been showing, Man City not looking too good, and the fact that his effective ownership was about 70%, I still enjoyed a little bit of a green arrow thanks to these points. But yes, Man City completely schooled United in that fixture. Do apologize if you guys are a United fan, as those 2 teams just looked a different class. But at the end of the day, just happy I held on to Erling Haaland on my wildcard draft. But as mentioned, the week to do that was game week 8, and that's passed. Then our final option, I don't really understand how Ollie Watkins ended up blanking. I think he got about 1.5 XG or something ridiculous in this fixture against Luton, and we only have 2 points to show for it. So 2 big chances missed in the opening half. Things didn't get any better in the second half, and as I mentioned, Diaby got all the points for Aston Villa. So I'm a little bit sorry if I broke Ollie Watkins for you owners when I brought him in on my wildcard. But definitely wasn't expecting this performance and these chances missed, as he's been pretty consistent. So not Ollie Watkins' contribution to our overall rank with only those 2 points, and was pretty unhappy with that. But as you guys can see, the starting 11 and the bench, actually Charlie Taylor coming off for Gabriel, getting us those 6 points, taking us to an overall 74 and a nice little green arrow. But as mentioned earlier on, in the comments down below, where are you guys sitting in the overall ranks, and how many points did you guys score in Game Week 10? But now let's turn our attention to Game Week 11, and as always, I'm going to show you guys my current starting 11 and the context. Always like to show you guys what I'm dealing with before I talk about my transfers, as it does lay out the context and the plan. So let's start off on our bench, and this week the bench pretty much kind of picks itself. The only big benching dilemma is going to be Taylor, Gabriel, and then one of my centre backs, but I just prefer the back three I have currently. So you guys can see Gabriel faces Newcastle away. Always was going to bench him this week. It's either Charlie Taylor or Gay, as both those players play each other. Then in terms of Archer, he might come back into the starting 11, but against Wolves at home, I still prefer my current starting 11, unless maybe a Dinger gets benched. So let's go on to that starting 11. As always, Areola between the sticks. Now, am I expecting a clean sheet in this game? Definitely not. Brentford are a pretty attacking side, and West Ham's defense is simply terrible. So let's hope he gets some save points here, or at least maybe a miracle clean sheet, as I would like Mbumo to blank. Then in terms of our back three, going to start off with Matty Cash against Nottingham Forest. We then have Gay against Burnley away, and finally Tsimikas against Luton away as well. Now, as mentioned, Gay versus Taylor might be a little bit of a debate, but I do prefer the Palace defense to the Burnley one, and that's why Gay is going to be in my back three. Might not offer the most attacking threat like a Matty Cash or a Tsimikas, so let's hope both those options get attacking returns. Then our midfield department will be going for the 5 in midfield. Got Mo Salah against Luton away. Great fixture on paper. Might even be a Campsy consideration if you guys want to go for it. We then have Chelsea at home for Son. Great game on paper. Spurs are scoring freely. Chelsea's defense isn't the best, but the defensive stats are still pretty decent. We then have Saka against Newcastle away. That's a very tough game on paper. Not expecting much from Saka, but the fixtures after this are pretty nice. Then we have Jared Bowen against Brentford away. Also a little bit of a tougher game on paper, but hoping he can string something together, as it will be massive if he can outperform Matoma or Diaby. Then finally, Dingra against Everton away. You guys saw on the weekend West Ham falling to Everton. Will Brighton do the same? I don't exactly know. Now, if I do have a suspicion that a Dingra gets benched, I might transfer him out or might switch him for Archer on our bench, but I believe the Brighton winger should play. Then our front line is going to be Haaland, captain against Bournemouth at home. I'm just backing the home fixture, but if you guys want to go Mo Salah, I can understand why. Both those two options are really great this game week. Then finally, Ollie Watkins has Nottingham Forest like Matty Cash. This is a good game on paper, not as good as the Luton one, so let's hope that he converts those chances. But the starting 11 this week pretty much kind of picks itself. There might be some kind of concern for a Dingra, but because of the break this midweek, I do believe the winger will play. But what I want you guys to do now is just kind of look at this team. If there was a chance that I should make, comment it down below. But let's go on to my transfer plan. So in terms of my starting 11 and my bench, because I kind of have a little bit of bench coverage this week, I'm expecting to actually bank the transfer, but this might all change with the midweek football coming up. So if you guys don't know, the Carabao Cup next round fixtures are going to be played, and a lot of Prem sides are actually playing. So please watch out for any kind of injury concerns. Some teams this week actually have a break, such as a Man City, also at Brighton. But if your teams are playing and your players are playing, please watch out for team selection news as well as injury news, as that might force our hand into using our free transfer. But I don't know if you guys actually agree with me. Is there a move that you guys could see in my starting 11 that I should be doing? I think I'm pretty happy with how the starting 11 is looking. If you guys want any help with your transfer plans, comment them down below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, follow me over on Twitter or my Discord server where I am slightly more active and I can get to those questions a bit sooner. But this is basically going to wrap the video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Tons of content still coming up, the team selection and ultimate guide for Game Week 11, so make sure those notifications are turned on. But I'm signing off, it's me Dayvy FPL and I'm out, cheers, bye.